We must understand that there is nothing that God has not covered for us in the kingdom. That is why it is an insult on God for the believer to leave the kingdom and seeking the ways of life out there. The Bible said, Psalm 16 verse 11, one of my all-time favorite scriptures, it says, "For thou will show me the path of life in your presence." So anytime we come to the presence of God, one of the things we come to do is to access the path of life, the ways of life. He is the author of life. He said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." So if he is the author of life, then he must have the ways of life for us to live. And if we live according to those ways, we will command his acts in our lives. "For thou will show me the path of life in your presence." So when we access the presence of God, we access the path of life. The path of life means the way I must walk so as not to enter death. It said, "For there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end of those ways are the ways of death." Proverbs 14:12, I think so, and Proverbs 25. 14:12, 16:25. There is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end of those ways are the ways of death. So for us not to walk in the ways of men that leads to death, he said, "Come to my presence and I will show you the way of life." It means nobody actually knows the way of life if he's not born again. Nobody actually knows the way of life if he is not spending time in the presence of God. Church is not a social gathering. Church is the gathering of the saints of God before their Father, where he dispenses the way of life. You know, Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather around me, you sons of Jacob, and you sons of Israel, and I will tell you the things that shall be hereafter." He was showing them the ways of life ahead of them. He was patterning. He was patterning their life for the future. That is what we do in church. That is why I will always keep saying, if you come to church and do not return with something to go and do, all you came for is entertainment. Entertainment. So there is the way of life. The way of life concerning marriage, the way of life concerning finances, the way of life concerning relationships, the way of life concerning business and career, and everything about your life, about health. There is nothing that concerns us or that has to do with our life that God has not designed the way of life for it. The way of life. The way of life. Meaning walking outside the parameters of the designed way of life that God has for his children is actually walking into death. When God said, "Thou shalt not," and you actually do, you are walking into death. It said, "For this law is your life." It said, "Receive it and do them, for they are your life." The ways of God are the ways of life. So I want to believe God that in this month, he will show us the way of life as it regards success.